We had been discussing the origin, history and development of Kathak. Now let me ask you a few questions to find out how much you remember. The first is very simple. Why is the dance style called Kathak?
The word Kathak comes from Katha. Katha means story and Kathak is the storyteller.
Good. Now, we all know that the dance style originated from the narrative technique in which wandering minstrels used to tell stories. Beside narrating the stories, they simultaneously performed two other roles. The Kathaks performed two other roles. Could you name them?
They also enacted the story through dance, drama, and they also preached.
Yes. So, the Kathaks, while telling the stories, used to make the stories more interesting and entertaining by introducing songs, dances, and dramatic enactments within the story, and at the end of the story, there was a moral. For the story preached what was right and what was wrong. The gradual development of Kathak from the art of the wandering minstrel to what is presented on the stage today is very, very interesting. Northern India has experienced many changes, both in the social and religious order. And all these changes have been reflected in the Kathak dance form. We know that when the Islamic raiders first came and destroyed the temples, the dancers were, for a time, without proper patrons. But then, gradually, when the Delhi sultans and later the Mughals started patronizing the dance form, it flowered and became enriched through the influences of Central Asian culture. In fact, I had told you that Kathak, more than any other dance style of South Asia, is imbued with the principles of Islamic culture. This dance style presents a fusion of the Hindu and the Islamic, of the early Indian and the imported Central Asian culture. Vaishnavism, which had such a great impact on Indian culture in the Middle Ages, was again reflected through Kathak. Then we had come to the stage when the Mughal Empire was gradually declining, and we were discussing how the regional princes and rulers started patronizing the dance form, and how, because of the regional differences, different styles of Kathak evolved. we had discussed a very major regional style of Kathak. Do you remember it? Yes?
Lucknow.
Yes, the Lucknow Gharana or the Lucknow style of Kathak. We had learned how the sophistication and refinement of the Lucknow court influenced the dance style, which is outstanding for its beauty, its sophistication, and its emphasis on nuances and refinement. There is another major style of Kathak, the Jaipur style or the Jaipur Gharana. Although we call it the Jaipur Gharana, the region covered is actually a great part of Rajasthan. In fact, although the concentration of Kathak dancers was more around the Jaipur region, there were other dancers in Jodhpur, Udaipur, and Bikaner. Jaipur came into prominence in Indian political and economic history from around the second quarter of the 16th century, when Raja Man Singh was the king and when he was in close and friendly relationship with the Mughals. Actually, at that time, the place was called Amber. Man Singh was a great connoisseur of the arts, and he and his brother Madho Singh took great pains to promote all the different art forms in their area. The Royal Library or Pothikhana at Jaipur has a number of treatises on music and dance, from which we get a vivid description of the musical and dance presentations in the royal courts of Rajasthan. In fact, the kings gave a great deal of encouragement as well as patronage to the art forms. And this can also be seen from the fact that they commissioned artists to paint raga chitras. Now, these raga chitras, in the form of miniature paintings, also have poses of dancers. And again, the fact that these musical treatises were written also shows that the kings were interested, because they couldn't be written without royal patronage. Some of the very important musical treatises written during this period are Ashok Malla's Sangeet Kalpataru, written around 1494 AD, Muhammad Shah's Sangeet Malika, 1653 AD, and Kallinath's Sangeet Ratnakar Kalanidhi, written in 1677 AD. Now, there were many dancers, as I said, residing around what is today Jaipur, Jodhpur, Bikaner, Udaipur, and even in areas like Churu and Sujangarh. Now, when the friendly relations were there between the Mughals and the rulers of Rajasthan, obviously hosts of people went from Rajasthan to Delhi. Besides the rulers, there were other rich people, politically important people, and even warriors, soldiers, officers. And when these people went, in order to please the emperor, they took performing artists so that these people could entertain the king or the emperor in the court. So these artists, including Kathak dancers from Rajasthan, were constantly going to Delhi. Many of them stayed back, many of them stayed for a while, and they were in constant interaction with the dancers of Delhi. And so naturally, they influenced each other's style. Since the martial culture was predominant in Rajasthan, the dance style too reflected it in the form of vigor, speed, and powerful movements. These dancers, when they went to Delhi, were influenced by the sophistication and the culture of the Delhi court. Again, many of the dancers went to Mathura and Vrindavan, from where they learnt the Lasya style of dance and were influenced by the Bhakti movement. The first great connoisseur of arts in Rajasthan was Raja Jai Singh, 1699 to 1743. Those were his reigning dates. It is from the name of Jai Singh that the city was named Jaipur. Jai Singh, like his predecessors, encouraged the art forms, but he went a step further. He set up an institution called the Guni Jan Khana. The purpose of this institution was to help artists. There were several classes of artists that were patronized by the Guni Jan Khana. There were ordinary artists who came every day and they had to report, and in the evening they sang in front of the palace. There were other artists who were well known, who did not have to report every day, but who performed on special occasions at the court or at various religious ceremonies. These artists could also perform in other states at the invitation of their rulers, but they had to take the permission of the Jaipur Guni Jan Khana before going. Now, all these various classes of artists were paid a monthly salary, and even when they retired or were too old to perform, they were paid a pension. So this was a very important step where an artist had a form of security, and when he could perform and create new items, being very content with his state of mind and his situation in life. Because earlier, the dancers had to constantly run from place to place to find a livelihood. Now, this tradition, begun by Raja Jai Singh, was kept alive by his successors. In fact, Maharaja Pratap Singh did a great deal for the Guni Jan Khana. He himself was a poet as well as a musician, and he appointed his guru, Buddhi Prakash. Actually, his original name was Chand Khan, but he was given the title of Buddhi Prakash, and Buddhi Prakash was in charge of the Guni Jan Khana so that he could select artists who were really talented. This Guni Jan Khana tradition continued with Raja Ram Singh, and it was there up to 1947. Now, you know what happened in 1947. India became independent and all the states merged within the Indian Union, and the state of Jaipur ceased to exist. Just as the Rajas of Jaipur patronized artists, so too the Ranas of Udaipur had their institutions in which they patronized artists. In fact, it was more or less the custom in the various states of Rajasthan at that time that every ruler who was politically and economically powerful, these rulers would also patronize the arts because that also added to their glory. Now, although the royal records in the various states give descriptions of how the rulers patronized artists, unfortunately, not too many names of actual dancers are found. We know that there were the Kathaks who were from the Brahmin families, and we also know of Baijis who lived in these areas and who were very talented and who were patronized by the kings and rich people, but very few names are found. In fact, the first name of any great guru in the Jaipur Gharana that we find is that of Bhanuji. It is said that Bhanuji learned how to dance from a Shaivite saint, and he learned the Tandava style of dance, which he practiced and taught to his son Maluji. Maluji had two sons, Laluji and Kanhuji. Both of them learnt this dance style, and Kanhuji went to Vrindavan, where he learnt the Lasya style of dance and where he was influenced by the Bhakti movement. Of the two sons of Kanhuji, the elder, Gidhaji, specialized in the Tandava style of dance, and the younger, Shehjaji, specialized in the Lasya. Of the 5 sons of Shehjaji, one, Dulhaji, came to Jaipur and settled there. He was an excellent dancer and specialized in portrayals of the Krishna theme. In fact, people identified him with Krishna and gave him the name Girdharji. Girdharji was a part and parcel of the Jaipur culture, and his two sons, Hari Prasad and Hanuman Prasad, were very renowned dancers of Jaipur. They were excellent in rhythmic delineations and in the speed in which they performed the dance. Their dance was also replete with beauty, and people often called them Dev Pari ke Joda, or a pair of fairies from heaven who were dancing. They performed in many parts of India, carrying the name and repute of Jaipur with them. With them, we come to the 20th century. Hanuman Prasad ji had 3 sons, Mohanlal, Chiranjilal, and Narayan Prasad. Of the 3, Narayan Prasad was the most outstanding. He composed a number of items on dance and a number of kavit todas, or rhythmic compositions which are in the form of poetry. His delineations were outstanding, and he also trained a number of very well-known dancers. In fact, he spent quite a major part of his life in Delhi also. He was attached to the Jaipur Gonijan Khana, but he also came to Delhi and trained many outstanding dancers. Now in Jaipur, there were several other Kathak families who were closely related by marriage to the Hari Prasad Hanuman Prasad family. They were also very well-known dancers and have contributed substantially to the Jaipur Gharana. Shyamlal, Chunnilal, Durga Prasad and Govardhan were cousins of Hari Prasad and Hanuman Prasad. Chunnilal is especially important because his 2 sons, Jailal and Sundar Prasad, are eminent figures in Kathak. In fact, all the well-known dancers of the latter half of the 20th century who perform the Jaipur Gharana of Kathak are their students. Gauri Shankar, who was a very eminent dancer of the Jaipur Gharana, maintains that there was a conference of all Kathak artists that was held at Jaipur in 1895. Now, up to this time, Gharanas were named after the names of their forefathers. And so you had the Ishwari Prasad Gharana or the Bhanu Prasad Gharana and so on. Now, common people were often confused because there were so many Gharanas, and they also did not know what was distinctive about each Gharana. So in this conference in 1895, it was decided that from now on, Gharanas would be named after certain cities. And so we had the name of Lucknow Gharana. And although there were various cities which were important in Rajasthan, the name Jaipur was chosen because of the political and economic importance of the place. We have the two premier Gharanas, the Lucknow and the Jaipur. A third Gharana, the Banaras Gharana, was given recognition for its distinctiveness. We will learn about the Banaras Gharana in the concluding part of this episode. In the preceding part, we had learned of the Jaipur Gharana of Kathak, and now we come to the Banaras Gharana. The founding father of the Banaras Gharana is Janaki Prasad, who was more or less a contemporary of Bindadin Maharaj of the Lucknow Gharana. Janaki Prasad's family belonged to Mailsur village of the Bikaner state in Rajasthan. His great-grandfather was Gopi Prasad, his grandfather Govind Prasad, and his father Anand Prasad. Janaki Prasad came to Benares, and there he added considerably to the dance style. Now at that time, there were a number of Baijis in Benares, and their abhinaya was at times becoming a little erotic, and it was losing the quality of bhakti. Janaki Prasad was a scholar and a poet, and he was very versatile with Sanskrit verses. His abhinaya was presented through Sanskrit religious texts. Again, Janaki Prasad emphasized the importance of angik or movements of the body. He said that facial expression was important, but movements of the body were equally important. And sometimes, to emphasize this, he would turn his face away from the audience so that they could concentrate on the delicate movements of the body. Again, as far as the rhythmic content was concerned, he disliked parans because he said that while executing parans, often the audience was influenced more by the playing of the tabla and the pakhavaj, and their attention wavered from the dance movements. So all his rhythmic compositions are based on nach or natwari bols. That is, as you know, ta thei tat, digdha digdig and tram. Janaki Prasad had his main disciple in the form of his nephew Shablaji, and he also taught the very well-known film actor Ashik Hussain, who went later to Bombay and taught eminent dancers such as Kumudini Lakhia and Tara Chaudhary. Janki Prasad did not marry, and so his progeny are not there and the line has stopped with him. But he has a number of students who are carrying on his tradition. They are Bihari Lal and his two sons, Mohan Lal and Sohan Lal, Ganeshi Lal and his son, Hanuman Prasad, of course, Ashik Hussain Khan, the film star, then Krishna Kumar, Sudarshan Dheer, and Hazari Lal and his wife, Sunayana. The Banaras Gharana is also known as the Janki Prasad Gharana. And Janki Prasad in his time was given as much respect as was given to Vindadin Maharaj of the Lucknow Gharana. We have now learnt of the three Gharanas of Kathak: Lucknow, Jaipur and Banaras. In the concluding episode, we will learn of the development of Kathak in the 20th century. How a dance style, which was first performed in temples and later in the courts of emperors and kings, is now performed in the proscenium stage, in classical dance and music festivals and conferences. How a dance style, which at one time was performed by Kathaks and later by Baijis, is now performed by young people from educated and established families. And how a dance style, which was originally taught in the Guru Griha or the homes of the Gurus, is now taught in educational institutes and universities.